put it in there again, and something good will happen. And first goal that I had was coming back home and opening up a gymnastics school.
So Ron Gallimore, now back to his roots here in Tallahassee, surely hopes to produce champions, but he has a more important goal in mind, to produce fine young men and women.
I had a coach that coached me down in Fort Lauderdale named Jack Miles, and we were taking a trip, and this is when I was about 13, 14 years old, and we were taking a trip down to the Keys, and he said, Ron, come up, and he sent me up to the front of the van, and he wrote on a little piece of paper, and he gave it to me, and I looked at it, and it said, the blood of kings flow through your veins. And I said, what do you mean by this? He goes, you'll know someday. And after I made the Olympic team, that night, I left the arena and went back to my hotel room, and I picked the phone, the message light was flashing, and I asked him, I said, well, do I have a message? Yeah, there's a strange message here. It didn't leave a name or the guy anything. The only message is, the blood of kings flow through your veins. And it brought tears to my eyes, and I called him up, and he said, yeah, it was great, you know, and then I kind of knew a little bit more what he was talking about.
Well, Kathy, many gymnasts feel sure that no one was more affected by the '80 Olympic boycott than Ron Gallimore.
We all thought Ron would, without a doubt, win a gold medal on the vault, and to this day, I can't think of anyone who could have out-vaulted him in 1980.
Well, round two will be up next. When we come back, don't go away. It's the McDonald's International Mixed Pairs from Tallahassee. Stay with us. Bart Connor and Kathy Johnson back here in Tallahassee. Once again, let's just update you on the scores after the first round. Shannon Miller and Scott Keswick hold the lead over the Chinese team. Zemesko and Hanks are tied with the Russians for third. Wendy Bruce and Chris Waller will not advance to the second round because of the rules, and that rounds out the field of competitors advancing to the second round of competition.
In round two, a lot of the women
now that brings up the team from Russia, and this young lady is Svetlana Kozlova. She's 17 years old, and it's interesting to me that a couple of years ago she was from the Soviet Union and her city was Leningrad. Now she's from the Community of Independent States and her city is called St. Petersburg. I wonder how a 17-year-old can deal with all these changing political elements.
Must be difficult, just like this vault. I don't know how she deals with this. I've been waiting all night to see it. It's a double twisting your Yurchenko. Most of the gymnasts are doing full twists, and this is just incredible.
What's ironic to me is the judging system. Women's scoring says that a double twisting Yurchenko and a full twisting Yurchenko are worth the same points. I think in many ways a lot of gymnastics judging needs to be revamped because the rules are not up to date with the level of gymnastics that we're seeing these days.
You just read my mind. It's absolutely ridiculous that they can even score near the same.
She goes, Kozlova.
Oh no! She usually does that so well.
Svetlana Kozlova.
To do this vault, it takes precise timing. You've got to get right up on top of the horse in order to push off. Let's see what happens.
A combined score for Henrietta Anodi and Bruno Koster. From 2 rounds of competition, they have a team.
She was a little bit short on the horse, couldn't snap her legs down into that somersault, so of course she lacked rotation.
Here's a great angle to see the hand placement on the horse, and that is a spring-loaded horse.
You can see she's kind of crunched in, and her shoulders were forward of her hands, not in a good position to really block off the horse.
It's interesting, the other day in the American Cup competition, she munched her first vault like that in the preliminaries and then went on to nail her second one. You can see by her face, perhaps she's planning to do that again.
It's not a situation you'd like to be in. It puts a lot of pressure on the second vault.
But 9-1-5 was the score for her first vault.
Fortunately, in women's gymnastics, you have 2 chances.
Oh.
There it is. Not quite as well done as in the American Cup, but look at the relief on her face. She was glad to get that one around.
Her face tells the story. I knew I could do that. Let's take a look at it one more time, Kathy.
I can't emphasize enough how difficult this vault is. The placement on the horse, much better. You can see her shoulders were a little bit more in line. She was able to push off. We'll see it better from this shot right here. A little more on top, shoulders a little bit straighter angle. She was able to push up a little more, get that rotation, and boy, get those 2 twists around.
Now Kozlova's teammate here in the mixed pairs competition is Dmitry Karbonyenko. He's 18 years old, also a Russian, and as we saw him in the floor exercise, he's incredibly powerful, and he has a sequence in this parallel bar routine that only a handful of people in the world would even dare do. Look at the size of this guy's arms. Is that a pair of guns or what? I think he tripped over the springboard stepping up to the parallel bars.
As you mentioned, this combination is just outstanding. Very difficult.
Okay, here comes his combination. These moves are called Healy twirls. He does 2, and watch what comes now. 1 3/4 front flip.
And he moves right out of it. It's a hard enough skill to do just by itself.
Very aggressive on these back tosses. All he has left is a dismount. Oh
no! That's going to cost him. And I was just thinking to myself, I was hoping the judges were going to finally give him the score that he deserves on this event. I think he was a little underscored at the American Cup. Unfortunately, now he's given them the opportunity to take those 1/10 of a point off.
Let's take a look at how complex this sequence is. From the Healy twirl, that's a front 1 3/4. He lands on his upper arms. Obviously, you can see why he wears those pads on his biceps. The dismount is the pike double back, and he just pulls it around too far.
You can see he gets his feet too far underneath. His hips are back, and he stumbles back, takes those 2 steps.
The judges deduct 1/10 of a point for every step that you take on a landing, and there were sort of 2.5 steps there, so you can expect the score to be in the 9-7 range. Certainly shouldn't be
exactly what
much
happened
higher.
on the floor exercise. Very difficult routine, but unfortunately took those steps.
So the score for Kozlova was a 9.825 on her second vault, a huge improvement over the 9.15 on her first vault. 9.75 for Dmitry Karbonyenko, so a pretty good score there. So they're still in the hunt.
Certainly good scores, but they have definitely left some room at the top for the final pairs coming up.
So many great Soviet champions like Ludmila Tereshcheva and Olga Korbut. Kozlova trying to make her mark on international gymnastics. So there they have it, 39.175 for the Russian pair. Now we move over to the vault. This is Li Yifeng. You saw her on the uneven parallel bars get a 9.9 in the first round. Here's her vault.
It's a Yurchenko vault as well, only this time with a full twist. Laid out. Nice position in the air, but unfortunate landing. Pretty big step. There will be a significant deduction.
This is her 3rd year on the national team in China. She was 14th in the all-around at the 1991 World Championships.
You can see here she gets a nice push off, good laid out position, takes it plenty far back from the horse, but a large step on the end. See, this is what we really needed to see from Kozlova. See how her shoulders are right above her hands in a perfect position to push off the horse. You can't have that angle too great. It makes it too difficult to push.
Once again, in women's gymnastics competition, they get to do 2 vaults and take the best of the 2 scores.
And you know what's going through her mind right now. She's got to try to stick the landing.
9.75, a pretty good score. Obviously, leaving some room at the top if she were able to nail this next one. What do you think she's going to try to do to improve the landing on that vault?
She needs to float the vault upward so it almost stalls in the air so it can drop in for a perfect landing. As I said, on the first vault, she got quite a bit of distance and probably a little bit too much. She needs to take it up right here. Oh. Well, she got a kick out of that one. I'm not sure exactly why.
Me neither. Actually, it looked like she did what she had planned to do. She was hanging up in the air a little bit more.
I don't know.
Hard to explain what happened there. Maybe we can see it better here.
It looked like it was going to be a little better, Bart. I thought she might be able to come up with a better landing. She obviously knew better than I. Good push, good position, and right here she just decided to take a run.
Let's look at the hand placement.
Oh, on the short end of the horse. A little bit crunched in. You can see her fingers tucked under, actually.
Once again,
So she must have known right then that it was not going to be as good as the first one.
Good point. That's perhaps why she bailed on the landing. She kind of munched in there on the pre-flight of that ball. That's a terrific angle, that point of view camera. Well done. All right, now over to the pommel horse. This is her teammate, Nong Xiang. He got a 9.75 on his first event here, the parallel bars. He competed in the Goodwill Games a couple of years ago in Seattle, so he's been to the United States before.
And the Chinese are typically so good on this event, Bart. Usually show great amplitude, impeccable form.
The judges require the gymnast to touch all 3 sections of the pommel horse. You notice he works on the end, through the middle, and back to the end. What beautiful body line. Very complex sequence as he travels across the horse. In the flare, that's the Thomas flare invented by Kurt Thomas. And he works up to the pommels. A little bit low on those scissors, but a strong finish for Nong Xiang.
Nong Xiang from China.
Once again, we can take a look at the flares as he travels across the horse. Notice the tremendous elevation above the leather. You'll see he doesn't even work up to the pommels until he's ready to break into his single leg work, the scissors. The dismount was quite good as well. From the flares, he cranks it up to a handstand and off. Actually, not one of the more difficult dismounts, but most of his difficulty was packed in the early part of the routine. He certainly fulfilled all the requirements, the elements the judges are looking for. So the 9.75 for the smiling Li Yifang to follow up on her 9.9 on the uneven bars. And Nong Xiang waiting on his score from the pommel horse.
It's nice to see them having some fun. This really is a fun event for them. An opportunity to break away from the traditional competition of competing all 4 events and only for their individual score.
And as you mentioned, everyone is specializing on their best events, so it's a little more relaxed, a little less pressure. 9.75 is the score for Nong Xiang, so there is their team score, 39.15. And we'll be back with more gymnastics here in Tallahassee right after this. And welcome back to Tallahassee. Bart Connor and Kathy Johnson ready for Kim Zmeskal to perform here in the second round of the McDonald's International Mixed Pairs. And the crowd is getting heated up because they've seen Kim Zmeskal perform this vault and score a 10 in the recent World Championships. She is really dynamite here.
The most important thing that Kim usually does is stick the landing. Let's see if she can do it here. Almost! Slight little hop, but boy, she can really cover that up. She gets her arms up fast. Very important, saving those tiny little tenths of a point.
Bella Caroli, the Romanian cowboy, trying to encourage Kim to get a little softer on that landing.
The nice part of her vault, she flares after the twist, opens up her arms. Very nice position. She wanted to stick that.
Here's a good look at that spring-loaded horse.
Good angle onto the horse. Nice block off.
Gymnastics at the ripe age of 6 years old.
Here you can really see if the gymnast keeps their legs together, just slightly apart. The judges will hardly be able to see that, though, from their point of view.
Well, that little hop cost her 5/100ths of a point on 9.95 is the score for Kim Zmeskal, and we know she can do better.
They have set her up for a 10. We could possibly see it here. If she sticks the vault, as she did at the World Championships, it could happen right here.
The trick is to be explosive and yet to be soft on the landing.
Almost identical to the first vault. Same little hop, and she knows it. Hard to be disappointed with a 9.95, though.
Well, she got the customary pat on the back from Bella Caroli, but not the bear hug. He wasn't completely satisfied.
I think he really wanted to see the stuck landing. He wanted to see the 10. As I said, almost identical to that first vault.
Well, the judges saw it that way. The score, a 9.95 for the second vault as well. So now we move over to Jared Hanks, this year's American Cup champion, Nissen Award winner, leader of the University of Oklahoma men's team to their NCAA team title this past year.